Hey everyone, Random Randy here. This is Crochet Crash Course 101. This video is assuming that you know absolutely nothing about crochet, so we're gonna dive right into the stitches that you need to get most projects started. There are a few other more advanced foundation stitches, but we're not going to get into those in this video. So let's get started. First off, we have some worsted weight or medium 4 yarn to get started. It's the most common yarn. This is also an acrylic yarn, which means that it's not going to affect people who have allergies, and it comes in a ton of different colors. This is Vanna's Choice from Lion brand. It's actually really soft, and I love this rainbow thread through the gray. It makes it look tweed when you're done. It's very nice. I like it a lot. So this particular colorway is called Patchwork Gray, and this is the dye lot right here, this 75822. If you're going to be making a large project, you want to try and match up your dye lots, or you're going to have slight variations in your color that you may or may not want there. If you want it to be varied, that's totally cool, but if you want it to all be uniform and one color, especially with a solid color yarn, you're going to want to check your dye lots. So I'm not going to go into everything on the yarn label here because I'm actually planning to do another tutorial explaining what all of this insanity is. But as you can see right here, it says it is 100% acrylic, and the weight is medium or 4, also called worsted weight. And right here it tells you what size knitting needles you would need if you were going to be knitting a size 9 or 5.5 millimeter, or a size J10 6 millimeter crochet hook. We're going to be doing crochet, so we have our trusty Susan Bates inline hook here that is US J10 6 millimeter. So we're going to just take this right off here, find the end. If you're lucky, some skeins of yarn, a lot of them recently, are actually coming with a center pull, which means that you'll be able to just find a yarn tail hanging out here in one of the ends and just tug it, and all your yarn will unravel beautifully from the middle of the ball and you won't have to mess around with it. Usually I go to the trouble of making a center pull ball if it's not, and I can actually show you how to do that later. But for now, we're gonna get started with making the chain stitch. This is sometimes called a foundation chain. It's the first row of stitches that you make that you build everything else that you're working on from. So to start off, you make a slip knot, which means you take your yarn in between your fingers. You want to leave a tail that's 4 to 6 inches depending on what you're doing. With the way that I like to weave my ends in, I leave it a little bit longer because I actually work it into the stitches as I go. So to start off, grab your short tail of the yarn in your left hand. I'm assuming you're right-handed because I am right-handed. If you're not, you'll probably have to do this in reverse. So grab the longer part of the yarn in your right hand, loop it around your finger, and then you pull this loop open slightly, tuck the end in, and then you just pull it to tighten. You've got a slip knot. Fantastic. Take your hook, put the hook through the slip knot, and depending upon which way you were holding it, you're going to have to tug a different side of the yarn, but you just pull on it gently until it's snug right up against your hook. So what you do to chain is you take your working yarn, which is the longer piece of yarn that's not your tail, and you wrap it around the hook so that now you have your slip knot, and you have one yarn over, is what this is usually called, or wrap, depending upon which tutorials you're reading. And I'm going to be using American English terms. The UK terms are different. I'll probably try and explain those as I go, because what we call a double crochet, they actually call a treble crochet, and they're not the same stitch in American terms. So anyway, back to making the chain. You've got your slip knot and you've got your first yarn over. All you do is turn the hook so that it catches your yarn, and you pull it through the slip knot. And it makes it look like part of a braid. So we'll do a couple more kind of slow. Wrap it around, pull it through, yarn over, pull through the last loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. I'm just going to do a couple more here so we get a slightly longer piece to get started with. And one of the fun things about the yarn like this is that since it has two separate colors, occasionally it's going to split on you. So I'm just going to go back to the last stitch. Put the hook back through here. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Going too fast here. 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So here we have a chain of 10, which isn't a lot. You're probably going to do a lot more for most things, especially if you're doing like a shawl or working on a blanket. So what we're going to do next is called the single crochet stitch. This is a very dense stitch that will make for a very warm and very stiff piece of fabric. So depending upon what you're doing, it'll probably be better to use something that has better drape. But we're gonna start off the single crochet here. So you're going to just have your loop on here for a single crochet, and you go into the middle of the chain, the middle portion of the braid. You're going to yarn over once. You're going to pull it through the stitch. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over one more time and pull this top stitch, or this top wrap, through both other loops. And that is 1 single crochet. So to do it again, the next one, you go into the middle of the stitch, yarn over once, pull it through. So now you have 2 on the hook, yarn over again, pull it through both. Go through the middle of your stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops. I'm just going to finish up the row here. And you'll notice that my tension isn't very tight. A lot of people, when they're starting out, they crochet super, super tight, and that just makes it so difficult to work with the farther along you go. Not to mention it makes your hands really, really sore. It makes your wrists cramp, it makes your fingers ache, and that's just no fun for anybody involved. That doesn't make you want to keep working at it, you know? So now There is a row of single crochet. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to make one row of double crochet on top of this. So what you do at the end of a row is you generally do a chain that is going to make it equal to the next row of stitches you're going to be working on in height. So since a double crochet is taller than a single crochet, rather than just doing one chain like you would at the end of a single crochet row for another single crochet row, we're going to do 2 chains. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to turn the piece. Now looking at it backwards, you can see the stitches look a little bit different this way than they do this way. With some pieces, there will be a right side and a wrong side. With some things, like usually with scarves, when you crochet, it doesn't really matter which side is which because you flip back and forth repeatedly throughout. So we're going to do a double crochet now. So we've made our 2 chains, which means that it's going to have the yarn in the right place to be at the right height for the first stitch. So for a double crochet, where with a single, we just went right into the chain stitch, we're going to yarn over once, and then skipping that first stitch that's right up next to your end of row chain, we're going to go into the next one, making sure that you go underneath both of these loops from the last stitch, because there's actually a technique where you only go through the back loops, and that creates an entirely different, almost ribbed look to whatever you're working on. But for this, we're just going to go underneath both. So you've got your 2 loops on, we're through the stitch now. We're going to yarn over once and pull it back through, so now you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over one more time, pull through the middle 2, so now there's 2 on the hook. Yarn over once more and pull it through both. So now, if I can get it in the light, there we go. Now you have a double crochet. Go through a couple more slowly. So you yarn over, so you have 2 loops on the hook. Go through your next stitch, yarn over, pull it through, so now there's 3. Yarn over once more, go through the middle 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And as you can see, a double crochet is significantly taller than a single crochet stitch. Yarn over, through the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, yarn over, through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the middle 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And as you go, you get more used to it. And see, this is the reason that I don't like it when it's not a center pull ball or center pull skein, because you have to keep moving your yarn around. Yarn over, poke your hook through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, through the middle 2, yarn over, through the last 2. Right, so now we have a chain that has a row of single crochet and a row of double crochet on top of it. Now I'm going to do one more stitch, That is really important as far as I'm concerned. You use it in a lot of things, especially hats and cold weather gear. So the next stitch we're going to do is a half double crochet. It uses the same number of wraps as a double crochet stitch, so it has 4 wraps, or 4 yarn overs, 4 loops, however you want to describe it. So even though the half double crochet is the same height as a single crochet, you still, going into a row of it, you will chain 2, and then turn the piece over. And see, that's what the back of the row of double crochet looks like. It's a little bit different. So we've chained 2, and you start it exactly like you would a double crochet. You yarn over, so you have 2. You go through your stitch, yarn over, pull through, so you have 3, yarn over one more time, so now you have 4 on your hook. What you do with a double crochet here is go through the middle 2, yarn over, and go through the bottom 2. With a half double crochet, all you have to do is pull it through all 3 loops, and that's a half double crochet. Yarn over. And the spot that you're going through, you'll notice, especially once you get taller stitches, that if you pull it a little bit, there's a big space in between them. But here, up toward the top of the stitch, there's actually this little bar underneath. You have your 2 top portions of the stitch, and there's this tiny little bar here. Some patterns will ask you to go under that bar, but most of them you're going to be going right through here, in between the top portion of the stitch and that little bar, just before you get to the hole. So yarn over, 3 loops, 3 wraps, yarn over, go through all 3. Yarn over, through, yarn over, through all 3. Just finish up the row quick here. And there you have it. That is 4 very basic stitches that you will need for just about any crochet project you're going to do. Now further along, once you get a little bit more advanced, you're going to have fun things like popcorn stitches and bobble stitches and drop stitches. But for now, you're pretty good with chain, single crochet, double crochet, and half double crochet. In the next tutorial video, I'm probably going to show how to do the magic ring or magic loop for starting hats and socks and bags and other things that start out semicircular. In my opinion, it's a much better way to close off the top of a hat than having to sew your end through and pull it tight at the end. Just personal preference, I guess. So there you have it. Crochet Crash Course 101. Be looking for more advanced stitches and probably a few patterns a little bit further down the road. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment with any suggestions for things that you'd like to see. And subscribe to the channel for more updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.